Imagine this. Nearly 400 years ago, there was a Dutch company that reached such an extraordinary value that even if you combined Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and Saudi Aramco, you still wouldn't come close. And yet, when the origins of capitalism, old money, and global finance are discussed, people always think of the same names, the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. But almost no one speaks of that quiet, small Dutch company that changed everything. 96% of viewers don't subscribe. I need your support to create better and higher quality content. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave your feedback in the comments. Money, trust, history's repeating patterns. If you're ready to shift your perspective, let's begin. Welcome to Perspective Engine. Today I'm taking you into the story of the Dutch East India Company, the VOC, and the House of Orange, the dynasty that guided it from behind the scenes. Now let's go to 1580. Portugal is annexed by Spain. Spain becomes an enormous super empire, ruling vast territories in Asia, Africa, and the Americas. For the Dutch, already in the middle of a war for independence, this was a nightmare. Defeating Spain and Portugal by military force was impossible, so they invented another kind of weapon: private capital. In 1602, 7 small trading companies merged to form the VOC. From the outside, it looked like a trading company, but in reality, it was an economic war machine. Armed ships, private armies, fortified bases. However, the revolutionary part wasn't the cannons. The real breakthrough was the shares. For the first time in human history, ordinary people could invest in an empire. Anyone could buy in. Anyone could profit. The VOC had no need for a king or taxes. It scaled through markets, something no empire had ever achieved before. The merchants ran daily operations, but there was an invisible force holding everything together: the House of Orange. They were not kings. They did not rule over land. Their noble titles had lost much of their meaning, so they changed course. They invested in the VOC and bound their fate to the company's fate. Later, 2 members of the dynasty, William IV and William V, became the heads of both the VOC and the West India Company. With no crown at all, powered only by dividends, they became some of the most influential figures in Europe. The VOC reached a value of $7.9 trillion in today's money. It didn't behave like a company, it behaved like a state. It had its own navy, its own army, its own territories. If your market cap is larger than most nations, you're not trading. You're governing an empire. Between the early 1600s and mid-1700s, more than 1 million people left the Netherlands for Asia. They were not explorers. They were employees of a mega-corporation, building Dutch forts and bases in Ceylon, Java, Bengal, and many other regions. This massive structure rested on 3 pillars: a powerful state charter, Amsterdam's financial elite, and the strategic support of the House of Orange. And that charter, it was not a business license. It was nearly a royal mandate. The VOC could negotiate treaties, raise armies, conquer territory, and establish and administer colonies. Its boardroom decisions carried the weight of a nation. In 1619, they captured modern-day Jakarta and named it Batavia. For 3 centuries, it became the center of Dutch power in Asia. This is why, even today, you see Dutch traces in Indonesia, from cuisine to architecture. To finance this empire, they invented a revolutionary mechanism, a way for ordinary people to invest and remain invested long-term. In 1602, the VOC conducted the world's first IPO. Soon after, Amsterdam became home to the world's first stock exchange. Traders began hedging, arbitraging, and speculating, essentially creating the primitive version of Wall Street. One innovation changed everything: limited liability. If a ship sank, an investor lost only the money they had invested. Their home, family, and life remained safe. For the first time in history, investing actually felt secure. And the Dutch model didn't stay in the Netherlands, it spread to England, and then to America. When William of Orange became King of England in 1688, he brought the Dutch financial system with him. England quickly established the Bank of England, government bonds, and modern public credit. Meanwhile, Dutch ships reached North America. New Amsterdam, today known as New York, was built entirely upon Amsterdam's commercial system. Even when the English took over the city, they did not replace the Dutch financial structure. It worked too well. Over time, Amsterdam and London became financial partners. Their ideas blended, crossed the Atlantic, and arrived in New York. A hybrid system was born, carrying the legacy of both worlds, and gradually the system became the skeleton of the world's financial capital. But the VOC was not only innovation and achievement, it also carried a darker legacy: massacres, forced labor, and brutal colonial violence. Banda, Ambon, Batavia. Communities in all these regions suffered deeply under VOC rule. These historical realities are as important as the financial innovations, and must not be forgotten. By the late 1700s, corruption, inefficiency, and soaring military costs crushed the VOC. The company collapsed. In 1796, the Dutch state took over all its assets. But the system it built, corporations, stock markets, the architecture of global finance, never disappeared. Today, the Netherlands remains a financial powerhouse. The country's global investments exceed $3.5 trillion, and the House of Orange, they are still here, still influential. Their footprint extends across energy, finance, defense, infrastructure. Even Royal Dutch Shell, one of the world's largest energy companies, is an extension of this legacy. From VOC to Shell, from Amsterdam to New York, one thing has never changed: power and capital move together. The House of Orange understood this early. Capital is stronger than the crown. So what about today? The Netherlands no longer rules the seas. But wherever Dutch capital flows, it quietly shapes the world in ways its fleets never could, which leaves us with the million-dollar question. If ruling power has shifted to the markets today, who governs the markets? When the crown is invisible, who wears it?